Hey guys, this is Paul from Smart Easy DIY. Welcome to episode 28 in my garage build series. Today I'm going to be installing the openers for my garage doors. So I'm going to be walking you through the process step by step. I'm really happy with these openers. They're quiet, they're easy to install, easy to program. So let's get started. Now this is going to be a little bit temporary in the way that I run my wiring and stuff because this is not finished and it will be finished eventually. So that might make a little bit of difference on the installation. But it should be pretty straightforward, pretty much the same. So this is a Sommer garage door, and they are German made, as you can see right there, made in Germany. Good stuff. So this is the one in particular that I'm going to be installing. So hopefully this will be helpful to you as we go along to kind of see how it works. Now, in my case as well, I have the extension kit because my garage doors are 10 feet tall. So I need to have a garage door extension kit for that. So I might be doing a separate video on that one to show you that part because I couldn't find any information on that online. So I contacted them. They're working on videos for themselves on their website, but they don't have any yet. So I decided I'm going to make a video on just that part because that was a little confusing for me. So let's get started. Okay, so here's the box. This is the installation manual. This one in particular is the 2060 Evo Plus. So it's hopefully similar to what you have if you do have a Sommer brand. These ones cover some of the different ones right here. So always refer to your manual to be sure in your situation in case things have changed a little bit. This is just to kind of give you a general overview of what I went through to get mine done. Maybe to give you some ideas even if you have a different brand. Okay, so first thing, get this guy unboxed. I'm just going to set my different boxes here for now. This has a lot of the other goodies in it. Now we got these connector rails. So you can just grab those and slide it onto one. Slide it onto the next one. This thing actually goes together pretty easy. This part anyway. So this part here, I'm going to leave the chain for now. Don't get too confused about the chain. We'll get that sorted out as we go here. So on this end where this red stopper is, right here, we can grab this motor, slide it in there, then we can put these all together. Now see how I've just connected these together? And I would normally just slide this on here, but now since I need more length going on here, I'm actually going to open up this extension kit. This is the extension part, so you can just take everything out for now. I'm going to just take that off for right now. I like to put it on later once I know where it goes. So now, slide this together. It'll bottom out right here. And then I can add it onto my existing rail. I don't know if it really matters where it goes on the rail, but I chose to do it in this location. As far as assembly of the chain for this extension right here, they send all this stuff along to splice it. As far as I know, it doesn't matter which side you do on the chain, just as long as you pick a side. But so you want to put this splice kit together like this, and then you might need a pliers for this. You can see the splice kit right here. You can slip it on there, and then I'm going to try to hold somewhere on the chain here, maybe down below here with one pliers, and try to push with another pliers. There we go. What you want to do is hook one end of the chain right in here. Now whether you're doing the extension or not, if you don't do the extension because of the length of your track, you just won't add this splice right here. You'll hook the chain directly into here. So it hooks up the same way. Okay, now before you tighten this chain up so you can still have some slack in it to work with, right where this splice is that you put in the chain, they have this black plastic thing here. I think it's like a spacer or something. Has magnets on the bottom. So right in this general location, from what my garage door opener guy told me, the guy that sold them to me, he lives a couple hours away, so he really didn't want to come this far to install them. It goes right by this splice right here. See how it clips in here and then it magnetizes? And it holds the chain at the proper space off of the track, I think for the motor to ride up and down. So anyway, it goes right in here and it clips. It can only go in the certain spots. Like you can't put it in the wrong spot, it won't fit, from what I can tell. And those little hooks on top, they're almost like little teeth. They go in that bottom one, and then you clip the two together, and then since it magnetizes, now that's just for the extension part. This already has it on right here. If in doubt, you can refer to this. It's kind of under this motor. You can release the motor and slide it, and then you can see at the one that's factory installed. So that's really the only time you have to worry about it, is if you have an extension like this. Then we go down on this end of the track. There's a bunch of stuff in this bag, but I'm mostly interested in this part right here. So you want to pull your chain tight, make sure that it's not twisted or anything. Make sure that it's laying nice. Slide this in the end here. I just have a little ratchet that's 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. And usually it needs a little bit of loosening to get this chain on, so I loosened it. Right here's the threads. Loosen it to just where the threads are still showing. You don't want to have it pop off, or else you got to figure out how to get it back on there, which it's not that hard. But then you want to pull this chain. Make sure it's not twisted or anything. It's pretty hard to twist it because it wants to go nice and straight and flat. So then you want to give it a 1/4 turn, just like the other end, to get it in here, and then it locks in like that. Now see this arrow right here? You can refer to your installation manual to make sure, but in mine, I want this tension mark to be right here. There's kind of like a flat spot, like a washer, and then the spring in there is tapered, the tensioner spring. So you want to kind of get it where the two meet. So you can go ahead and put it in forward. Watch so this part doesn't turn. While you're doing it, you can kind of hold it till it gets some tension on it. Then you can just tighten it up. Now see how that spring's going around and around? Now I want it right in that gap right there. Right where the spring is sometimes a little tapered, depending on where it is in the spring, but right where the two come together, the spring and the taper, you can kind of see. And if you get too much, you can just back it down a little bit. But you can refer to your installation manual for sure, the correct tension on there, because you want to have it nice and tight, but not too tight. Whether you're doing the extension or not, this part is all the same. The only thing that's different on the extension, of course, is just this part here, and then this little magnet part, and splicing the chain. That's the only difference. Now, before we get any further, I wanted to talk about something here. I'm assuming that you have enough clearance up there, headroom above the door. I have almost 2 feet of clearance, and you might have less than that depending on if you have low headroom hardware or what your situation is. Now, I'm looking in the installation manual, and refer to your installation manual if you have any questions, because that supersedes anything that I have to say. So, what I'm seeing here is that when you open the door, you have to have, there's this highest part of the door where the door comes up in curves. You want to put your door up and have it come up to where it starts coming up top, and then measure off of the ceiling and figure out what the highest point is, because it has to go up and around to make that radius. Then when you do that, you have to have at least 1 3/8 from the top, the highest point of the door, to your ceiling. And you probably have a lot more than that, but that's just something to think about. And then you have to have at least 3/16 of an inch from that part to where the bottom of this rail is going to be, the way I understand it. So I figured out what that is on my door, and you can figure out what that is on your door. I'll try to show you a little bit of an example. It's probably a good idea to have somebody help you with this part. But where this comes up and around, I can probably lift this because the spring has taken most of the tension off. Now see how this is coming up and around past the ceiling right here? Wherever that radius comes up around, you want to check that. So yeah, it's about 10.5. Forgave myself a little room. So that's the very tip-top edge of the door right here to your ceiling. Garage door opener here to show you what this looks like. So since I have 10.5 right here, see I have about 7 3/4 is what I came up with on mine. That just gives me plenty of room, because that would give me, for example, 8 3/4, let's say 9 inches. That'll give me 9 inches to the bottom of the track. If I was at 10.5, that'll give me 1.5 inches of clearance. They want to have a minimum of 3/16, but that's cutting it pretty close. I would try to go more than that if you can. I could measure off of my existing ceiling here, which I know is going to be that, and you can see right there, I'm at 7 3/4 to the top of my rail. It's about 8 3/8 to the center. So this is the next bracket we're going to be doing right here. This is what this track fastens to, and we're going to be doing it dead center. for sideways, and we're going to be doing it at that whatever height we determine that we want to mount this at. So, and then this, because later when you go to adjust this has a lot of adjustability in it, depending on what the height is that you choose. Because we also need to mount this guy onto the top of the garage door. So I'll show you that as well. But yeah, there's lots of adjustability in this arm here that's going to connect the motor to the door. So the main thing is right now is to make sure we have enough clearance so that the door is not going to be hitting on our track when it comes up over the highest point of the radius. Alright guys, so this is the bracket that we have to install next. It has this pin that goes in it like this, just to show you what it looks like. And then we're going to have a clip on each end to go into this. I could actually clip one in now so that I can just clip the next one once I install it. So it should have two clips like that come in the package. And I know this stud is dead center. I can also see where I screwed this part here, the spring bracket, so I know where center is. So, and then I measured 7 3/4 top down to the top of this, so I can hold that right where it goes. And then I drill a pilot bit. It's about 1/4 inch. Of course, you can just use a regular socket for this if you want. I just prefer to use a drill. But then this drill has a locking chuck, so when you get close, you can snug it right up by hand. And that is ready to go. For efficiency's sake, I'm going to install this while I'm at it. This is the bracket at the top of the door for the opener. I'll show you that. This comes with a pin and a clip, which we'll just set to the side for now. Now this takes a 7/16 nut driver, which I actually have one of those. Now you have to determine where to install it on your door. I have a top panel right here. I'm going to install it in this screw hole right here. Now this hole for the pin goes towards the top. These are just self-tapping. Now again, when I'm done, I snug it by hand. But now this part is all ready to go. Since our ladder's set up right here, might as well get it done. This ceiling suspension set put on here. This came with an extra one because of the extension, and I am going to put it on. But I wanted to show you what it looks like and how to install it. Actually a pretty cool setup. So now before you put it together, you want to put your bolt through this side. And then this one can slide in like that. They offset from each other a little bit. Now if you get that bolt in, slide it like that. And then they slide together just like that and lock together. Pretty cool setup, like I said. Then you put these in. Then those bolts, since they're started in there, that'll keep it from turning. And they will just tighten right up in there once you get your bolt on. So these we're just going to put on by hand, so they're up there when we get the opener up there. Then later, if you do need this extension one right here, you can put that wherever you choose to. Now next, we need to get something like this. This is called punched angle. There's different names for it probably, but it's basically just this angle bracing stuff, and it has holes every inch. This does in particular. This is 18 gauge. This is a little lighter duty than what I like for the garage doors. For the opener, it's pretty light, so this seemed to do just fine. And in my case, I need to have 2 10-inch pieces and 4 8-inch pieces because I'm going to be doing the support on the end and in the middle. So that's why I need so much. So this is just left over now from doing all the doors. Sommer does not provide any lags for this support. So this is something you have to provide yourself. I have a variety of these laying around. So anything that gets some pretty good purchase, this is 1.5 inches, I believe, or 1 3/4 inches. So I would say at least 1.5 inches minimum. Inch seems a little small for the amount of threads. So get something that's kind of beefy. I would say 1.5 inches to 2 inches anyway. Now you can see with that opener, it comes short of this truss right here. Since I don't have a finished ceiling in here, this is the only thing I have to fasten to. I mean, I could put a block between the trusses if I need to, but I'm just going to go right there close to the end. So that would be on this truss. And I determined already that this is pretty much the center. What you do is measure from that one over to this one, assuming that they're straight up and down, which mine are. So this gives me where the center is. Now I'm going to go ahead and fasten this just by holding this up in the center of my truss in my situation. So now everything, of course, is going to vary depending on what kind of situation you have. This is what is working in my situation because of my door height and my particular garage setup. Now what I'm going to do is use that same drill bit, drill a pilot hole in this one, and I want to get one in that spot. I'm trying to center it in my truss so that it has the most strength. Okay, now you can see how I got this anchored. Got a lag bolt here, lag bolt here. Now that is nice and solid. Now the next prep that I'm going to do is get this installed up here. And I already know based on the spacing on my opener what to do this, but these are just going to kind of sit here temporarily. I'm going to do a 1" by 3/8 bolt is what I'm using. I'm doing a lock washer and a nut. So you can see I got these just kind of hand tightened hanging up here. Now I believe the way that they say to do it, they don't even say to put that hardware up there first. I'm just doing that because I kind of know what it needs to be. But they say to open the garage door up and then have it leaning on top of the garage door. And you can try that method if you want, if you feel comfortable doing that. What I'm doing, since I have a tall ladder, I'm going to set the opener back here on top of the ladder to get it high enough so that I can get it clipped in over here with another ladder. I'll show you that process a little bit. But so I'm just doing all this prep because I know what it is. And you can do a similar type of thing as long as you know what your situation is. Like it's the same, you got to just make sure that your pieces are long enough so that they're the same elevation off the ceiling as the front where you put that bracket on there. And if you can do that math, you can probably get it just right. Main thing is you don't want to have those be too long, those ones coming down from the ceiling, the metal pieces. And if you do have, then you have to cut them off because you don't want them rubbing on the track, which I'll show you that later as well. Now if you're way down from the ceiling, then you might have to do some bracing here as well for this, for the opener. Mine is so short that I don't need to do bracing. These ones I had to brace because you kind of want to do that for garage door tracks anyway. But for this, unless you're coming down, if you're coming down a ways, you might have to brace it as well. But in my situation, this is what works. So you can kind of play around to see what works the best for you. For this next part, you want to have this pin and this clip for this. So it's very important you have those. You can put them in your pocket or something. And then the next thing is if you're going to do a ladder type thing where I am to get it up there close, you want to make sure to have it centered right above where it goes, because this is really the pretty easy part now to get this hung. This thing's not super heavy. It's pretty straightforward. So now I can just set that motor right up on top of that ladder there and just walk this end up. So I wasn't thinking about that earlier, but actually what I'm going to do now, because I can't quite clear this spring bracket in my situation with this one, so now I can set this up here since it's pretty much level with that door, and then just to make sure that it doesn't fall down, then I can come up this ladder. Thankfully these are lightweight. And now I can actually lift that up, and it's easier to do this if you have two people. And then this bracket, of course, can move. Now this is kind of temporary since it's holding on my spring over there. Now I can get this suspended, and I can get the nuts back on here temporarily. Okay, so you see how that's just sitting there temporarily? Now I have that suspended, and this is sitting up here on top of my spring. Can't really go anywhere. This still has plenty of movement, so I can get this put in. And I just want to put this pin in right here. Now you can see this clip right here. Okay, so that pin is in, and that clip is in. Now you can double check your measurement off of the ceiling if you want. 7 3/4. Now we can go back over here and fasten this, and if you're going to do another support, you can do that as well, which I am going to do just because this has so much flex being that it has the extension on now. You can move this bracket to where it's directly underneath there, because once you tighten these nuts up, this will snug up as well. These are 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. Now this is where I was saying you want to make sure that these don't stick down past the track when you're done. And I'll check my elevation as well. I'm really close to the same elevation, the closest I can get with this configuration. You want to get it as level as possible. So the motor will actually rub if you have these sticking down. Learned that the hard way the first time. So now you can snug these up nice and tight. That'll snug it on the track. Snug up both sides. You can snug up your upper ones as well. I use an adjustable wrench to hold one side because I don't have the correct size, or I'm doing so many different things I didn't want to mess it up. Okay, so now in my case where I'm going to add another support right up here, I'm going to do that next and then continue on. So if you're not adding a support, you can go ahead to the next step. Okay, now we're going to need this stuff and all this hardware right here. Okay, so I got my center support in for the track there, so that's all secure. Now you can release this thing. You can get the handle put on here. They usually say to double knot it. This is like your emergency release handle. And you probably had to pull on this handle to get it over there from the center. So what this does is if you pull down on it, you can release it to slide on here. And now that's what I want to do here. I want to do a pin through here. I'm going to take this off for now. This comes with all that hardware that you got. So you want to clip your pin in there. Now I want to clip the pin through here as well to determine where to fasten this at. So it kind of depends on your type of situation. You can put it wherever you need to as far as giving yourself enough room. So you want to have yourself a little room to travel right here. So once this tightens up, you don't want it to bottom out on here. But I think this should be good for me because, and there's lots of adjustability here, but I don't want it to go too far back there as well. But the beauty of this Sommer garage door is it automatically senses how much pressure to put down. You don't have to adjust that. It just automatically does it in the learning cycle. You'll see about that later as we go along. So let's get these nuts on here. Okay, now that we got the opener up, we got it all hooked up, installed. Now we got to think about power. In my case, I have power run here already. I don't have covers for it yet, but I got power ran there temporarily. You guys will have to figure out how to get a power source close to your opener. So that's all part of the planning before you even get to this part. But next, I'm going to be doing the sensors. So there's going to be a sensor on either side of the bottom, a safety sensor. And they don't really give you enough wire to go to a 12-foot like this. I mean, it's close. So for me, I have to go as direct as I can. My header's all sealed up, so I can't go there. But I'm just going to drill a hole right here at the top of the stud on either side, run it up. And then there's also a wire that's going to go here. I'll show you this. I got this set up temporarily for my other door. This is the height kind of where to put it. And even this one, I was going to do a double button when I come inside the door, but I did not have enough wire to do that. This is low volt wire, so you can splice it if you need to, which I might. If I do end up wanting to move it over here, I'll just splice it, run it up over my header and down here before I insulate and all that stuff. But so in my case, I want to mount the switch here, sensor wire here. So that's my next step, is to get that all prepped. The first step in getting the sensors ready is I'm going to drill a hole right here, close to the stud, close to the center of the stud. That's going to come up for my sensor wire and my switch wire. They can cross over and go up the same hole. And if you're wondering, brand new Diablo spade bit, that's why it chews through there like nothing. Spade bits, these are the Diablo ones. They work really well. I'll include a link down in the video description below the video if you want to check it out. Or any of the tools that I'm using during this video installation that I think might be helpful to you. I'll include links down there as well if you want to check them out. The next thing we need to prep for getting these sensors installed. So these brackets are what you need. Then these wing nuts are for fastening on these things, the wing nuts and the bolts. So the main ones that we're going to have right now are these ones right here. And it takes a 3/8 nut driver. If you have that, then I'll show you the rest. So now there is a right side and left side on this. Since this is the left side of the door when I'm standing inside looking at it, I want my bracket, in my case, you have to read your instruction manual as far as how high to be up off the floor. In my case, it was 4 inches to the top. So right here I made a mark at 4 inches, and I'm kind of just giving myself a little bit of room here. So, and then I'm using a smaller drill bit than what I used for the bigger lags for the other installation. And then I like having an extension on this just to be able to get me away from that end a little bit. So these have quite a bit of adjustability. It's just important that you have the height the same as both sides so that the sensors can see each other. Now these can bend a little bit if the 2x you're fastening to isn't perfectly square and plumb and all that stuff. So then the sensor will mount on there later, but now I'm going to do both sides. So these sensors, there's one that has a green sticker, one that has a red sticker. And I believe, you have to double check this in your owner's manual, but I believe the red one is the one if you are going to have it in direct sunlight. If there's a chance it'll be in direct sunlight, one or the other does better in direct sunlight. And I believe it's the red one, but it could be the green one, so you want to double check that. I don't want to lead you astray. Double check your owner's manual on that. But to fasten it, these bolts just go right in like this. Go through the slots in your brackets right here. It's kind of hard to show it, but you just want to get that wing nut started underneath there. And then I like to just line it up so that the inside is flush with this track right here. Do it the same on both, and then you can fine tweak it if they have trouble seeing each other for some reason. You can fine tweak it. But now that that is fastened, then you can take this loose right here, this twisty tie. You'll want to try to uncoil this so you can get all the kinks out of it. Now that you got your sensors installed, got them there, uncoil the wire and stretch it all out as much as you can. And then on the switch here, I wanted to show you the switch. So I'm going to try to put everything in and then run the wire so I can get as much length as possible. So this switch right here, it doesn't matter which wire goes where, so you can hook that up. And then I have it mounted here. So you got one screw that goes in here first, spot for the wire to tuck through. Now this is not finished, you can see, but I'm prepping so that when I put my siding on whatever I do in here to finish it off, this wall panel, then I can just pull this loose, unhook the wire, slip the switch back on when the finished piece is on. So in the meantime, since this is kind of temporary, I'm just going to mount it here close to the door, because I'm probably going to put it over here so that I have room for door trim and all that. But this is just temporarily permanent because it might be a year or two till I get this done. So now you might have to play around with how much to put that screw in the first time so that it's pretty snug. And then you can put the second screw right here. Now that that's on there nice and snug, you can put this cover on. That way it's nice and finished. Now I'm just going to staple this wire in here, give myself a little extra room, and then I'm going to run the wires up for the sensor and this and get it run up and over there. Then in my case I'm going to go up above the trusses once I get up above that first one and run all the way across. There is an option for running the wires on top of the rail as well, I believe, which is what these are for. These little parts here. I've never used these before, but you can read the instructions manual about that because there's some zip ties, little pieces of adhesive and stuff so that you can route the wires along on the top of the rail if you want to go that route. Okay, so I got the wires installed for my sensor. I want to show you, I just kind of ran it through here, so when I do the siding, I'm going to run it out through that. So since this is metal, I might just notch it right here at the very bottom to go around this wire, because I could probably take it loose on this sensor end if I had to, but I wouldn't want to unwire the whole thing. So I'll figure that part out when I do, however I finish this off in here. But this, I know I can take this loose, so I got that all mounted. I just use these staples. I like these plastic ones. They make some for actual cable, but I just had these ones for doing electrical wire, so I just use them. They're a little big, but they'll be fine. So I ran that all the way up there. Got the switch wire run up there as well. And then I got them all connected. The one coming up from that side, I'll run back here. And then I wanted to show you this part right here. So this, you just take this cover off right here by one Phillips screw right here. It comes off. And then my wire, like I said, it's really short to reach this far with this thing being extended. So it's kind of at an angle here. It's not the prettiest, but it's kind of temporary because I'm going to take this loose when I do the ceiling and then route it down a little nicer. But what I ended up doing, see, they actually give you some holes where you can run the wires in right here, just like this one, and run it under here and tighten it. So that's what I would recommend if you have the length to do it. But for me, I didn't. But then you'll have to check your book maybe to verify. So these wires, it doesn't matter which one goes where, but this is the one for the switch. It goes into this one. Doesn't matter which wire goes in each one, black or white. And then these ones, I hooked them up in pairs as well. But these are the sensors. They go in the common signal right here, this gray and black one. And I put the two blacks together in one, two whites together in the other. Doesn't matter which one goes in there either as well. So there, I just had to drill a hole and come through the top here to be able to have enough room to reach. So now I'm going to close this back up and then ready to program it. One more thing I was going to tell you about these wires. I actually had to splice this one, but it's low volt, so it's not a big deal, I don't think. So I just ended up having to splice that one to make it longer. The one that came from the switch down there was long enough that I could add some extra to this and make it reach. So this way they all reached, but I had to splice one of them. The other thing, this is the safety stop to tell it how far to come up when the motor to shut off. So I recommend having it pretty close to the end here. If in doubt, leave it this way so it doesn't come up too far. And then that'll adjust the travel for the height of your door where it stops. So that's something you can just adjust with a Phillips screwdriver. This is the opposite of taking it off, but since I didn't show that, it just has these tabs that go up in these holes right here on the front. And then as long as your wire is all out of the way, you can just put in this Phillips screw back in here. I like how nice and compact these are. The other thing I love about these Sommers is how quiet they are. They are super quiet, and they're also really easy to program. For now, since I don't know for sure, like I said, my ceiling isn't finished, I'm just going to wrap this kind of around here. I don't want it too far forward to be in the way of the track right here. And I don't have a cover on there for now, but I'm going to plug it in. And my switch came on, the light came on, so that's a good sign. And my sensors look like they're lit up, so that's a good sign. So it's time to test this thing. When you first plug it in and your sensor wires aren't solid, see how that's a green one, that's a red one? If your lights aren't solid, they're not seeing each other. So what you need to do is you can adjust them in and out or tip them a little bit. These things have a little flex to them. They do have a pretty wide field of range, but see, they go out or flash as soon as they're interrupted. That's the whole point of them, for safety. But if they're not solid, then that's all you need to do is do a little adjusting. And they should recognize each other. If not, you can disconnect them from the power source and try again. Guys, this is a video that is specifically from Sommer, and sometimes this is a little easier to follow than trying to follow the installation manual as far as programming. So I'm going to link this video for you guys down in the video description. I don't know if YouTube will let me tag it up here or not. I'll try to put it up here if it'll let me. If not, it's down in the video description. So you can go ahead and watch this video and it'll tell you about programming it. So yeah, they're talking about green LED flashes. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but now that I got it plugged in, I didn't do anything to it yet. So that's flashing. That means it's ready to be programmed. And then I unpacked the remote and got it ready to go. Is to leave the door in a partially open position before pressing the button to begin learning. I don't know why that's important, but it is. So that's the next step. We got to press button number 1 on the Sommer remote, which is this one. It's flashing. I'll show you here. I'm not sure if this is hooked up. I think it is. It should be. All right, so it's just got to go through its cycle and do its thing. I guess it wasn't engaged, so I had to engage it by pulling on the red handle. Now see where it shut off, and it's almost in the right spot. It's pretty much all the way up, which is what you want. Now we got to push the button number 1 again, and now it will close. So while that's closing, I'll figure out the next step. Okay, so it just got done going all the way down. Now it's flashing as well. Now I got to press button number 1 again for it to learn that that's all the way closed. Now the lights are flashing, so it's learning. Now I think it goes up and down multiple times. Now it's going a lot faster. But I think it goes up and down multiple times to learn where it ends and where it begins. It's really easy to program this thing, like super simple. Okay, so now if we keep watching this video, it'll tell you everything, but basically this thing is going to go up and down a few times, and then it's going to stay open once it's all done. And then if you do want to adjust how far it comes up, you just loosen that red thing, slide it back a little bit if you want it to go open a little bit more. Just do a little bit at a time. And that is it, guys. Okay, now that the door is fully programmed and in the open position, I was going to show you. Here's the remote. And there it goes. What a beautiful door. Check that out, guys. I love how easy these things are to program, and they do the right amount of tension downward and everything to seal the door off perfectly. So we'll just watch it go down nice and slow. These things are so quiet and smooth. Really happy with them. This is the third one that I did, the third door. So he just squishes that bottom rubber just perfect, and it turned out beautiful. It goes up a little faster than what it comes down. But yeah, nice and quiet. So if you are interested in how I installed the garage doors themselves, go back in the previous video in the garage build playlist. That'll be the video before this one in the playlist. And I'll try to link it up here for you guys as well. But that video is about how I installed the garage doors before I did the openers. So one thing I really like about these Sommer garage door openers, like I said, is how quiet they are. They're just super quiet, super simple, easy to set up. You can get smart ones that do all kinds of stuff. I got the pretty basic one. I wanted a light in mine, but I got it pretty basic otherwise. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, reach out to Sommer USA and let them know, because they do have a headquarters in North Carolina, I believe, in the United States. You can buy these directly from them. You don't need to buy them from a dealer. But let them know that Paul from Smart Easy DIY YouTube channel sent you. A little bit of credit won't hurt anything. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate you letting them know. Not that they sponsor me or anything, but it doesn't hurt. Maybe for future, maybe we can work together in the future or something. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Thanks, guys.